friends! It's so wonderful to have you here with us again. Thank you for choosing to practice your English today. I'm Erica.
And I'm Marco. We're thrilled to be part of your English learning journey. Our mission is to help you feel more confident speaking English in real-life situations, and we try to make it as enjoyable as possible.
That's exactly right. And today, we've got a really exciting theme lined up for you. We're diving into the world of international travel. We'll be sharing 100 essential phrases and guiding you on how to talk about your adventures abroad in English.
This is such a valuable topic because traveling to other countries is a dream for so many people. Whether you're getting ready for your very first trip or you're a seasoned explorer, knowing how to discuss your travels in English is a fantastic skill to have.
Absolutely. And if you find today's lesson helpful, please show us some love by giving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Your support really helps us keep creating content like this for you.
Definitely. So, Erica, are you ready to jump in?
More than ready. Let's get started.
So, Erica, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling particularly adventurous today. I spent my morning browsing flight deals online. I've got this strong urge to plan an escape somewhere new.
Oh, really? That sounds exciting. Any destinations in mind?
I'm torn between going back to Japan or maybe exploring Costa Rica for the first time. I haven't made up my mind yet. How about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was lovely, actually. I ended up going through a box of old keepsakes and found photos from my trip to Portugal nearly 6 years ago. It brought back so many wonderful memories.
That sounds so nice. Did you come across any funny or embarrassing ones?
Oh, plenty. There's one classic photo of me looking completely confused while holding a map in Lisbon. I had been walking the wrong direction for about 40 minutes before I finally stopped to ask for help.
We've all been there. I did something similar in Chicago once. I was so confident I knew where I was going, and I ended up miles from where I needed to be.
It happens to the best of us. And speaking of getting lost and traveling, that actually ties in perfectly with our topic today.
Yes, it does. Let's get into it. Marco, when you're planning a trip to a foreign country, what's the very first thing you do?
Well, first I need to pick a spot. I usually spend hours on travel blogs and watching video guides to get inspired and see what different places have to offer.
I do the same thing. I love comparing destinations. Then, the next thing I check is the weather forecast for the time of year I'm thinking of going. I really try to avoid monsoon seasons or extreme heat.
Smart move. I made that mistake once when I visited Bali. I didn't realize it was the peak of the rainy season, and it poured almost nonstop for the first 3 days.
Oh, that's such a disappointment. So after you've settled on a destination, what's your next step?
Next, it's time to book the flight. I'm a bit of a bargain hunter, so I compare prices across multiple travel sites. You'd be surprised how much the price can vary from one site to another.
Absolutely. I usually check at least 3 or 4 different platforms. I also try to keep my travel dates flexible. Flying midweek can sometimes save you a significant amount of money.
That's a great tip. So do you have a strong preference for direct flights, or are you okay with connecting flights? I definitely prefer non-stop flights whenever possible. They're just less hassle and get you there faster. But if a connecting flight saves me a considerable amount of money, I'll go for it. What about you?
I'm the same. I'm not a big fan of long layovers, but sometimes they're unavoidable. Last year, I had a 6-hour layover in Istanbul. It felt like an eternity.
6 hours? That's rough. How did you manage to pass the time?
I walked around the terminal to get my steps in, had a couple of cups of tea, and found a quiet corner to read my book. It wasn't the most fun, but I survived.
I'm glad you made it through. Okay, after the flight is booked, you need a place to stay, right?
Yes, exactly. Where do you usually prefer to stay when you travel?
It really depends on the situation. If I'm going solo and want to keep costs down, I'll look for a highly rated hostel. But if I'm traveling with family, I'll book a hotel or even rent an apartment. I really like the apartment option. You get more space and a kitchen.
Me too. Having a kitchen is a game changer. You can prepare your own breakfast or a simple meal, which makes the trip feel more like living like a local, and it's definitely easier on the wallet than eating out for every meal.
For sure. Speaking of money, do you usually get your cash sorted out before you leave home, or do you wait until you arrive?
That's a good question. I usually exchange a small amount, maybe enough for a taxi and some food at home. Then once I arrive, I find an ATM at the airport or in the city to withdraw more. The exchange rates are usually better that way.
That's a clever strategy. I often forget to do that, and I end up scrambling to find a currency exchange counter right after landing.
You need to be a bit more organized, Marco.
I know. Okay, so we've got flights, we've got accommodation, and we have a plan for money. What about entry requirements? Do you usually need to worry about visas?
It completely depends on where you're going. For some countries, I can enter with just my passport for up to 90 days. For others, I have to apply for a visa online or visit an embassy weeks in advance.
Yes, it's so important to check that early. I always check the visa requirements at least a month before my trip. I've heard horror stories of people being turned away at the gate because they didn't have the right paperwork.
That's a nightmare scenario. Okay, let's imagine all the preparations are done. Your flight is tomorrow. How do you spend the night before?
The first thing I do is pack my suitcase. I have a tendency to overpack, I'll admit. I always think I'll need more outfits than I actually do.
I think we all do that. What are the must-haves in your bag?
The basics, clothes of course, enough socks and underwear. I always pack my toiletries in a separate bag, and most importantly, I never forget my chargers and a universal travel adapter. That's one mistake you only make once.
Oh, tell me about it. I forgot my adapter on a trip to London once, and I was without my phone for 2 days. It was a logistical nightmare.
I can imagine. To avoid that, I create a checklist on my phone. I go through it item by item. Passport, tickets, wallet, phone, charger, adapter, any medications, and my camera.
Same. I avoid checking a bag if I can. I've had a friend whose luggage went to a completely different country than she did. It took 3 days for her to get it back.
That's a traveler's worst nightmare. After check-in, you head to security, right?
Yes, you put your bags on the belt, take out your laptop and liquids, and walk through the scanner. Sometimes they ask you to remove your shoes or jacket. I always get a little anxious in that line, even though I know I haven't done anything wrong.
Me too. It's the pressure. Then, after you're through security, you head to your departure gate to wait for boarding.
Right. I usually grab a coffee and maybe a snack while I'm waiting. It helps pass the time.
I like to walk around and browse the shops. The duty-free areas can be fun to look at, even if I don't buy anything.
Exactly. Then they finally call your boarding group and you get on the plane. Where do you prefer to sit?
I'm a window seat person all the way. I love watching the landscape change as we take off and land, and I like having a wall to lean against if I want to sleep. What about you?
I'm the opposite. I go for the aisle seat. I like being able to get up and stretch my legs whenever I want, without having to climb over anyone.
That's fair. So, the plane takes off and you're in the air. How do you like to spend the flight?
If it's a short flight, I'll listen to music or a podcast. For long-haul flights, I love diving into the in-flight entertainment. I usually end up watching 2 or 3 movies. I find it hard to sleep on planes, though.
I'm the same. I can never get comfortable enough for a real sleep, but I do try. And what about the food? Do you eat the meal they serve?
I usually do, yeah. It's not always gourmet, but it's part of the experience. Sometimes I'll also bring my own snacks, like trail mix or some fruit, just in case I get hungry between meals.
Good idea.
Okay, the plane finally lands. You've arrived in a new country. What's going through your mind?
It's a mix of pure excitement and a little bit of nervousness, especially if it's a place where I don't speak the language.
I feel that too. So you get off the plane and follow the signs to immigration. What happens there?
You stand in line and then approach an immigration officer. They'll look at your passport and ask you a few standard questions. Usually they want to know why you're visiting, how long you'll be staying, and where you'll be staying.
I always have my answers ready. I mentally rehearse saying things like, I'm here for tourism, or I'll be staying for 10 days, or I'm booked at the seaside hotel.
Exactly. Answering clearly and confidently makes the process much smoother. Once they stamp your passport, you're officially in. Then it's off to baggage claim.
Yes. You look at the monitors to see which carousel your flight's luggage is on. Then comes the waiting game. It can sometimes feel like forever, especially after a long flight.
It really does. Okay, you've got your bags. Now you need to get to your accommodation. How do you usually get there?
You have a few choices. You can take a taxi, use a rideshare app, hop on a bus, or take the train or subway if the city has a good public transport system.
Which do you prefer?
If I'm arriving late at night and I'm alone, I'll take a taxi or a rideshare for safety and convenience. But if it's daytime and I'm feeling adventurous, I'll take public transport. It's cheaper and gives you an immediate feel for the city.
I agree, but sometimes navigating a new subway system can be confusing. I always make sure to have a map app downloaded on my phone before I go. It's a lifesaver.
Absolutely. Google Maps is my best friend when I travel.
So you finally arrive at your hotel or apartment. You check in and get to your room. What's the first thing you do?
Honestly, the first thing I do is take a long, hot shower. It washes off the travel stress. If I'm really exhausted, I might take a short nap to recharge.
Same. Jet lag is no joke. I remember flying from London to Los Angeles, and I was completely out of sync for 2 days. I was wide awake at 3 a.m.
That's tough. After you've rested a bit, what's your next move? I like to go out and start exploring. I just want to walk around the neighborhood, get a feel for the streets, and find a place to eat. It's all about getting oriented.
Me too. I'm always on the hunt for a local spot, a small cafe or a market where I can try authentic local food. That's honestly one of my favorite parts of any trip.
The food is such a huge part of the experience. What's one of the best things you've ever eaten while traveling?
That's a hard one. I've had some incredible seafood in Greece, the most flavorful street tacos in Mexico City, and a bowl of ramen in Tokyo that I still dream about. I really can't pick just one.
All of those sound amazing. So let's talk about activities. What do you usually like to do during your trip?
I always want to see the iconic landmarks. If I'm in Rome, I have to go to the Colosseum. If I'm in New York, I'll go to the Statue of Liberty. I love that feeling of seeing something famous in person.
Of course, those are the must-sees. But do you also enjoy things like museums, parks, or just wandering through neighborhoods?
Absolutely. I love visiting museums, especially history and art museums. And I'm a big fan of city parks. They're often free and offer a quiet escape from the busy streets. What about shopping? Do you like to shop when you travel?
I'm not a big spender on things like clothes, but I do love buying souvenirs. I like to pick up small things for friends and family back home. Something like a unique magnet, a piece of local art, or some specialty food items like coffee or chocolate.
I do the same. I prefer meaningful, small gifts over expensive things. Do you still send postcards?
I do, actually. I have a few older relatives who don't use social media, and they love receiving a physical postcard in the mail. It makes them feel included in my adventure.
That's really sweet. I used to send them, but now I mostly just share photos online. A postcard is more personal, though.
I agree. Now, what about meeting people? Do you try to talk to locals when you travel?
I always make an effort, even if I only know a few basic words. I think it shows respect for the place you're visiting. Just learning how to say hello, thank you, and please in the local language can go a long way.
I completely agree. Locals usually appreciate it so much when they see you trying. I've had some of the most memorable interactions and gotten the best recommendations just by being friendly and attempting a few phrases.
Those chance encounters often become the best travel stories.
Okay, so eventually your amazing trip has to come to an end. How do you feel on your last day?
It's bittersweet. I'm always a little sad to be leaving, but I'm also excited to get back home, sleep in my own bed, and see my family.
I feel exactly the same. On that final day, I usually spend the morning packing everything up carefully. I also make sure to spend or exchange any leftover local currency so I'm not stuck with it when I get home.
Good thinking. Then it's back to the airport to go through the whole process again. Check-in, security, boarding, the flight, and then immigration on the other side.
Erica, and when you finally walk through your front door, you're exhausted but so happy. You have a camera full of photos and a head full of memories.
Exactly. And then, almost immediately, you start thinking about where to go next.
So true. I find myself planning my next adventure before I've even finished unpacking from the last one.
That's the spirit of a traveler. There's always another horizon to chase.
Marco, as we were talking, we naturally used a ton of really useful travel vocabulary. Let's go back over some of those keywords to make sure everyone understands them.
Great idea. Let's do it. What's the first word that comes to mind?
The first one is destination. That simply means the place you are traveling to. For instance, Hawaii is my favorite vacation destination.
Right. We use that word a lot. You could ask someone, what's your dream destination? Meaning, where in the world do you most want to go? My dream destination is the Maldives. All those overwater bungalows look incredible.
That sounds perfect. Okay, next word, layover. This is the time you spend waiting at an airport between connecting flights.
Yes, like we mentioned earlier. If you have a direct flight, you have no layover. But with connecting flights, you always have one. For example, we have a 4-hour layover in Amsterdam before our flight to Nairobi.
Good example. Next up, accommodation. This is a general term for the place you stay, a hotel, a hostel, a guest house, or a rented apartment.
You might say, I need to book accommodation for my trip, or the accommodation we stayed at was right on the beach. It's a more formal word than just hotel.
Exactly. Next, we have exchange rate. This is the value of one currency compared to another.
For example, the exchange rate from dollars to euros is very favorable right now, so I'm going to exchange more money. It's a good idea to check it before you travel.
Definitely. The next word is visa. A visa is official permission or a stamp in your passport that allows you to enter, leave, or stay in a country for a specific period.
Some countries require you to get a visa before you travel, while others offer a visa on arrival. You always need to check the requirements for your specific passport. And for that, you might need to visit an embassy, which is the official office of one country located in another.
Right. Okay, next, check-in counter. This is the desk at the airport where you present your passport, get your boarding pass, and check your luggage.
You walk up to the check-in counter and say, "Hi, I'm checking in for my flight to Bangkok." They'll take your bags and give you your boarding pass.
And a boarding pass is the document that allows you to board the plane. It has your name, seat number, and gate information. Now let's talk about hand luggage or carry-on luggage. This is the smaller bag you're allowed to take with you into the airplane cabin.
It goes in the overhead bin or under the seat. Airlines have strict size and weight limits for hand luggage. If your bag is too big, they'll make you gate check it, which means it goes in the cargo hold.
Right. Then we have jet lag. That's the feeling of exhaustion and confusion you get when you travel across multiple time zones.
I hate jet lag. Your body's internal clock is completely off. You can say, I'm still suffering from jet lag. I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning. It usually takes a few days to adjust.
Next, a fun word, souvenir. This is an object you buy to remind you of your trip, or a gift you bring back for someone.
For example, I bought a small wooden statue as a souvenir from my trip to Kenya. Or, my grandmother loves when I bring her a souvenir from every country I visit.
And our last word for this review is local. This adjective refers to people or things that are from the place you are visiting.
So, local food is the cuisine of that region, and local people are the residents. You might ask a local person for the best restaurant recommendation. The opposite is tourist or foreign.
Perfect. So to recap, we looked at destination, layover, accommodation, exchange rate, visa, check-in counter, hand luggage, jet lag, souvenir, and local. These are all key terms for any traveler.
Okay, Erica, we've covered so much ground today. Let's take a moment to summarize the journey we walked through.
Great idea! We started with the planning phase, choosing your destination, booking flights and accommodation,
checking the exchange rate, and securing any necessary visas.
Then we moved to preparing and packing. We talked about making a list so you don't forget essentials like your passport, chargers, and adapters.
Next, we arrived at the airport. We talked about going to the check-in counter, getting your boarding pass, going through security, and waiting at the gate for boarding.
After boarding, we talked about the flight itself, choosing a seat, watching movies, and trying to sleep. Then, upon arrival, we covered going through immigration, collecting luggage, and finding transportation to our accommodation.
Then came the best part, exploring. We talked about visiting attractions, trying local food, buying souvenirs, and interacting with local people.
And finally, we wrapped up with the end of the trip, packing up, returning to the airport, and flying home with new memories.
When you look at it step by step, it's really just a series of simple interactions. Knowing the right phrases makes every step easier and less stressful.
Absolutely. And now we want to hear from you. It's our favorite part of the show, the question of the day.
Yes, so here's our question for you. What is your dream travel destination, and why?
I'll go first. My dream destination is the Maldives. I've always dreamed of staying in one of those little bungalows over the crystal clear water, snorkeling, and just disconnecting from the world for a week.
That sounds absolutely magical. For me, I've always wanted to go to Peru. I'm fascinated by the history, and I'd love to hike to Machu Picchu. The combination of nature and ancient culture is just so appealing.
See, we all have different dreams. So now we want to know yours. Tell us in the comments below. You can write something like, "My dream destination is Italy because I want to eat authentic pasta and see the Roman ruins." Or, "I want to visit Canada to see the Rocky Mountains and the beautiful lakes."
Yes, please share with us. We read every single comment, and it's a great way for you to practice writing in English. Don't be shy. Let us know where you'd love to go.
Well, we've reached the end of today's lesson. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
If you enjoyed this video and picked up some new vocabulary, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss a new lesson.
We post new videos regularly to help you practice practical, real-world English. You're all doing an amazing job.
Keep practicing every day. Remember, even if you're not traveling at the moment, you can still practice by talking about travel, planning a future trip, or describing a past adventure, all in English.
That's all for today. We hope you have a fantastic day, a relaxing evening, or a peaceful night, wherever you are in the world.
Take care of yourselves, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye for now. We'll see you in the next video.